Hey everyone, today we're diving into a really important piece of legislation for every student and parent in the Philippines, the Anti-Bullying Act of 2013. We're going to break down what it means for you, what your rights are, and how it's designed to make our schools safer. Let's get right to it.
Right at the core of this whole law, you find this one powerful mission. It's not just about reacting to problems, it's about building something better, a culture where everyone feels safe and included. This idea is really the bedrock for everything else we're about to talk about.
So here's our game plan for today. We'll start with a why this law even exists. Then we'll get super specific on what bullying actually is, legally speaking. After that, we'll look at what schools are required to do and the part that we all have to play. And finally, we'll walk through what happens when something is reported and wrap up with the ultimate goal, preventing bullying before it even starts.
All right, first up, a safer space for learning. Before we get into all the rules and procedures, it's so important to understand the big ideas that are driving this whole thing. So this isn't just about a list of don'ts. Look at these goals. The first one, safety from violence, that's a given. But it's the others that really show you what this law is trying to build, making sure every kid feels heard, actively teaching things like empathy, and creating a school climate where everyone feels like they truly belong.
Okay, now we're getting into one of the most critical parts. What actually counts as bullying? We all have a general idea, but the law has a very specific definition. So let's unpack it.
Okay, a couple of words here are absolutely key. Did you catch them? Severe or repeated. That's a huge deal. It helps distinguish bullying from, say, a single argument. And notice, it's not just about physical harm. It also includes causing fear or creating a hostile environment, which, as we know, can be just as damaging.
And the law doesn't stop with just one definition. Nope. It actually breaks bullying down into 6 different categories to make sure all the bases are covered. Let's quickly go through them.
First, you've got the one we all think of, physical bullying. Pretty straightforward. Any unwanted contact that's meant to hurt someone. But, and this is so important, the law recognizes that not all wounds are visible. That's emotional bullying. These are the kinds of acts that damage a person's self-worth and emotional stability. They're invisible, but the law treats them just as seriously.
Of course, words can be used as weapons, too. That brings us to verbal bullying, things like constant name-calling, slander, or threats.
And in our hyper-connected world, bullying doesn't just happen at school anymore. It can follow a person home in their pocket. That's cyberbullying, using technology to harass or humiliate someone.
Then you have the more subtle kinds. Social bullying is all about damaging someone's friendships or their place in a social circle, often through exclusion or spreading rumors.
And then there's gender-based bullying, which specifically calls out harassment based on a person's gender identity or expression. The law makes it crystal clear that this has absolutely no place in our schools.
So now that we have a clear picture of what bullying is, the next big question is, what are schools required to do about it? Let's look at the system that every school is supposed to have in place.
This is non-negotiable. Every single school is mandated to have a detailed anti-bullying policy. And it can't just be a vague paragraph in a handbook. It has to have all of these things: prevention and intervention programs, clear rules, defined roles for everyone, and, this is huge, a safe and confidential way for anyone to report an incident, even anonymously.
But let's be real. A policy is just a piece of paper. It only works if people bring it to life. And that brings us to our next section. The fact that everyone, and I mean everyone, has a part to play.
The message here couldn't be simpler. It takes a community. This is not a one-person job. In fact, the law specifically outlines what's expected from each group within the school. Let's check it out.
Okay, for school staff, the duties are really specific. The principal is kind of the captain of the ship, overseeing the whole process. The counselor is there to support everyone, not just the victim, but the bully and bystanders too. There's a designated officer who handles the actual investigation. And teachers, they're on the front lines. Their job is to report anything they see immediately. No exceptions.
Now for the students, you are not just passive observers in this. The law sees you as active participants. That means knowing the rules, refusing to bully, and, most importantly, being brave enough to report what you see. You are a massive part of the solution.
And parents, you are absolutely essential partners here. Your role is to work with the school, participate in programs, report what you hear, and reinforce all these values of kindness and respect at home. It has to be a team effort between home and school.
Okay, so what actually happens when an incident gets reported? Let's walk through the step-by-step process. I think knowing how it all works can make a really stressful situation feel a lot more manageable.
First thing to know, the response is tailored to the offense. It's not one size fits all. So for minor things, a teacher might handle it with some guidance. More serious stuff, that triggers a formal investigation. And for the most severe cases, it goes all the way up to the principal and might even bring in outside help. This makes sure the response fits the situation.
And what if someone disagrees with the school's decision? Well, the process doesn't just end there. There's a clear path for appeals. You can see the chain of command right here, going all the way up to the Secretary of Education. It's a system of checks and balances to ensure fairness.
We're now at our final section, and it really brings us full circle, right back to the law's ultimate vision. This isn't just about punishment. The real goal is to get ahead of the problem entirely.
The whole strategy really rests on these two pillars. On one side, you have prevention, all the proactive things a school does to stop bullying before it even has a chance to start. On the other side, you have intervention. That's the support system for when something does happen. For the whole structure to be strong, you absolutely need both.
So we'll end with this question for you. After seeing the entire framework, the definitions, the roles, the process, the takeaway is this: the law is a powerful tool, but tools only work if people use them. Whether you're a student, a parent, or a teacher, understanding this act is the first step. The next is to ask yourself, what part will you play?